What if everything you thought you knew about yourself turned out to be a lie? For Samantha Miller, a simple DNA test meant as a curiosity unraveled the unthinkable. She wasn't biologically related to the family who had raised her. Even more shocking, a girl just 2 hours away might be living the life that should have been hers. Samantha, Sam Miller, always knew something was off. It wasn't just her dark hair and almond-shaped eyes that stood in stark contrast to her parents' blonde hair and fair skin. It was an unshakable feeling, an undercurrent of disconnection that had followed her since childhood. Growing up in the suburbs of Chicago, Sam often shrugged it off. Kids don't dwell on such things for long. But as she got older, the whispers in the back of her mind turned into questions she couldn't ignore. At family gatherings, well-meaning relatives would say things like, "You look nothing like your parents. Must be a recessive gene." The comments always made her laugh nervously, but deep down they stung. Even within her home, there were differences. Her parents, John and Claire, were analytical and precise. Her older brother, Jeremy, was an engineering major. Sam, on the other hand, was a creative soul, drawn to painting and music. Her bedroom walls were filled with canvases splashed in bold colors, a world apart from the minimalist decor of her house. In college, Sam's curiosity about her origins deepened. While taking a genetics course, her professor discussed how DNA could reveal surprising truths about ancestry. It seemed harmless at first, just another online kit promising to map your family tree. One afternoon, on a whim, she ordered a DNA test. The results arrived 3 weeks later in her email inbox, and what she saw made her stomach drop. Samantha Miller did not share any biological markers with her parents. Her hands trembled as she reread the report. Her parents, who had always loved and supported her, weren't her biological parents. A wave of guilt washed over her. How could she even think of doubting the people who had raised her? But there it was, black and white, undeniable proof. Sam kept the results to herself, unsure of what to do next. The idea of confronting her family felt impossible. The report included one more detail that set her on edge: a 50% DNA match with someone named Emily Thompson. This person was listed as a potential sibling, but the accompanying information showed she was Sam's age and lived in a small town in Indiana. Could it be? Could Emily be the biological daughter her parents never knew they lost? Sam couldn't stop herself. She opened Instagram and typed Emily Thompson into the search bar. Hundreds of profiles appeared, but one stood out. The girl in the photo didn't look like Sam, but she looked remarkably like Sam's mom. Blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and a soft, familiar smile. Her bio confirmed her location in Indiana, only a 2-hour drive from Chicago. Sam's heart raced. It was like staring at a reflection of the family she'd grown up with, a connection she couldn't quite explain but felt deeply in her gut. Without giving herself time to overthink, Sam sent a message. "Hi Emily, this might sound strange, but I think we're connected through a DNA test. I'd love to talk if you're open to it." Sam barely slept that night. When Emily's reply came the next morning, her nerves kicked into overdrive. "This is really unexpected, but sure. What's this about?" They arranged a video call that evening. Sam stared at her laptop screen as Emily's face appeared, the resemblance sending a shiver down her spine. After awkward pleasantries, Sam got straight to the point. "I took a DNA test," she said, her voice shaky. "It says we're biologically connected, and I don't think the parents who raised me are my birth parents." Emily's brow furrowed. I don't even know what to say. I've always felt a little different too. But you're saying what? We were switched at birth." "It's possible," Sam whispered. She explained her findings, the DNA match, and the hospital records she'd uncovered. Emily sat in stunned silence before speaking. "My parents are, they're great, but I've always felt like I didn't quite belong. I guess this would explain it." The call ended with a promise to meet in person. 2 days later, Sam found herself sitting across from Emily in a bustling cafe halfway between their homes. The resemblance was even more striking in real life. They studied each other nervously, searching for answers in every detail. "My parents never said anything about the hospital being weird," Emily said after a long sip of coffee. "But I was born during a massive thunderstorm. The power went out, apparently." Sam's eyes widened. "Same here. My mom always tells this story about how the nurses had to use flashlights. The pieces began to click. They looked through their hospital records together and saw that both of them had been born at St. Mary's Medical Center on the same night. That has to be it, Emily said. We were switched. The revelation hit them like a freight train. They sat in silence for several minutes, processing what it meant. What do we do now? Sam asked finally. Emily hesitated. I think we have to tell our parents. All of them. When Sam returned home, she couldn't put it off any longer. Her parents were sitting in the living room watching TV when she walked in. Her father muted the screen, sensing her seriousness. What's wrong, honey? Claire asked. Sam took a deep breath and handed them the DNA results. I did a test. I'm not your biological daughter. Claire gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. John's face fell, his usual calm demeanor shaken. Sam, what are you talking about? She explained everything. The DNA test, Emily, and their shared hospital records. By the time she finished, tears were streaming down Claire's face. We had no idea, Claire said, her voice breaking. You've always been our daughter. That hasn't changed? I know, Sam replied, her own tears falling. But I think my biological family raised Emily. I met her. John's face was pale. So, what do we do? We need to meet them, Sam said. We need to figure this out together. Across the state line in Indiana, Emily was having a similar conversation with her parents, Linda and Tom Thompson. The Thompsons were shocked, but supportive. You'll always be our girl, Linda said firmly, hugging Emily close. But if there's another family out there, we'll face this together. The Millers and the Thompsons agreed to meet the following weekend at a neutral location, a park just outside Chicago. The drive there was quiet for Sam, her parents lost in their own thoughts. When they arrived, the Thompsons were already waiting at a picnic table. Sam spotted Emily and felt a strange sense of recognition. The two families approached each other hesitantly, unsure how to begin. It's nice to meet you, Linda said, breaking the silence. She smiled warmly at Sam, her eyes welling up. I think you're my daughter. For a moment, no one spoke. The reality of the situation loomed heavy in the air, as if everyone was trying to find their footing on shifting ground. Sam felt Linda's words sink in. I think you're my daughter. It was surreal, hearing it from a stranger who somehow didn't feel like one. Claire, Sam's mother, the mother who had raised her, broke the silence. And I think Emily might be ours. Her voice cracked, and tears began streaming down her face. She turned to Emily, who stood next to Linda and Tom. Oh, sweetheart, you look just like John when he was younger. Emily smiled nervously, unsure of what to say. The resemblance was uncanny, and for the first time, she truly felt like she understood why she had always looked so different from her siblings. John cleared his throat, stepping forward with his usual pragmatism. This is a lot to process. Maybe we should sit down and talk. The two families settled around the picnic table, exchanging awkward but heartfelt introductions. The atmosphere was tense, yet strangely warm, like old friends reconnecting after years apart. Linda and Tom shared stories about Emily's childhood, her love of animals, her fondness for reading by the fireplace, her first school play. Sam couldn't help but notice how similar Emily sounded to her own brother, Jeremy. Quiet, studious, and a bit of a perfectionist. When it was the Millers' turn, Claire spoke animatedly about Sam's artistic streak and her flair for dramatics. She's been painting since she could hold a brush, Claire said, smiling through her tears. Her room is a gallery of every phase she's ever been through. Linda looked at Sam with a mixture of wonder and regret. You've always been artistic? I'm not surprised. My mother was a painter. It must have skipped a generation. Sam's heart ached. These weren't the kinds of conversations you were supposed to have with strangers. They were meant for family. And yet, here they were, two families who had somehow shared daughters without knowing it for 20 years. In the days following the meeting, the families agreed to take things slowly. There was no playbook for this kind of situation, and everyone was navigating uncharted waters. They decided on an arrangement. Sam would spend a weekend with the Thompsons, and Emily would visit the Millers. Sam's weekend on the Thompson family farm was eye-opening. She woke up to the sound of roosters crowing and found Linda in the kitchen, rolling out dough for biscuits. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. "Good morning, sweetheart," Linda said, smiling warmly. It was strange but comforting to hear her call Sam that. As the day went on, Sam found herself drawn to the life Emily had grown up in. She fed the chickens, helped Tom repair a fence, and even rode a horse for the first time. It was exhilarating, and for a brief moment, she imagined what her life might have been like if she had grown up here. But it wasn't all idyllic. That evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Sam felt a pang of guilt. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "I love my parents, Claire and John, but I feel this pull toward you. It's confusing." Linda reached over and placed a hand on Sam's. "We feel the same way, Sam. You'll always have a place here, but we don't want to take you away from the Millers. They're your family too." Meanwhile, Emily's visit with the Millers was equally emotional. Claire doted on her like a mother meeting her daughter for the first time. She showed Emily old family photo albums and shared stories of Sam's childhood. Emily listened intently, laughing at some of the antics Sam had gotten up to. She couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging. It was like finding a missing puzzle piece. But she also felt conflicted. As much as she enjoyed her time with the Millers, she missed her small-town life with the Thompsons. That night, Claire knocked on Emily's bedroom door. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. "Of course," Emily said, sitting up in bed. Claire hesitated, her hands twisting nervously. "I just wanted to say, I don't expect anything from you. You don't owe us anything. She broke off, her voice trembling. "I just want you to know how grateful I am that you've given us this chance." Emily's heart swelled. "Thank you, Mrs. Miller. I feel the same way. Call me Claire," she said with a tearful smile. The weeks turned into months, and slowly, the two families began to find a rhythm. Holidays became joint celebrations. Thanksgiving that year was held at the Thompson farm, with both families gathered around the long wooden dining table. Sam and Emily sat side by side, passing dishes and laughing as their parents exchanged stories. But it wasn't always easy. There were moments of tension, small misunderstandings, and bursts of emotion as everyone grappled with the complexity of their new reality. During one heated discussion about where Christmas should be held, Sam finally snapped. "Why does it have to be one or the other? Can't we just be together?" Her outburst stunned everyone into silence, but it also served as a turning point. From then on, the families committed to focusing on what mattered, building a future together. One evening, nearly a year after the discovery, Sam and Emily met at the cafe where they'd first spoken in person. They ordered coffee and sat in their usual booth, their bond stronger than ever. "It's crazy, isn't it?" Emily said, stirring her latte. "A year ago, we didn't even know each other. And now I can't imagine life without you," Sam replied with a smile. "It's like we were meant to find each other." They talked about everything, their families, their dreams, and the strange, winding path that had brought them here. Sam shared her plans to apply to art school, inspired by the paintings Linda had encouraged her to create on the farm. Emily talked about her decision to pursue veterinary studies, something she'd been hesitant to do until John and Claire pushed her to follow her passion. As they left the cafe, Emily turned to Sam. "Do you think we'll ever feel whole? Like we belong completely?" Sam thought for a moment. "I don't know if we'll ever have all the answers, but I think we're building something even better, something that's ours." Months later, the two families gathered at the Thompson farm for another celebration, Sam's acceptance into art school. Linda had set up an easel and brushes on the porch as a gift, and Claire brought a scrapbook filled with photos from both families. As the sun set, Sam stood with Emily, looking out over the fields. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Sam said. Emily nodded. "We have, and we're only just getting started." Their journey had been messy, emotional, and unexpected. But in the end, they had found something extraordinary. A family built not just on biology, but on love, understanding, and the choice to embrace one another. For Sam and Emily, their roots might have been crossed, but their branches had grown together, forming a bond that would only grow stronger with time. Families are built on more than just DNA. They're shaped by love, connection, and the choices we make to embrace one another. Sam and Emily's journey reminds us that even the most unexpected truths can lead to something beautiful. What would you do if you discovered your family wasn't what you thought it was? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that touch the heart.